1077 The Bone, Bimbo, Jimbo, Baby Huey, and Chasta. And we have in our midst, live in our face, in studio, we have a world champion wrestler, a best-selling author. He's got the king of the podcast world going on. He's the Ayatollah of rock and roll with Fozzie. Chris Jericho, welcome.
Jeez, man. Calm down.
Yeah, Jimbo!
I always love
off the top of my head, baby.
I always love coming here with Bimbo, Jimbo, and Baby Huey. It sounds like a gay porn website.
Oh my God.
It is.
I was just talking with one of our producers here that he was calling somebody Senor Wang, and I was like, yeah, it sounds like a pretty good porn website, Senor Wang's.
What? Bring him into our crew. What are you talking about?
Perfect.
Always a pleasure. It's funny because I just changed my phone recently, so I was getting some texts with the man over here. I don't know if you're allowed to say what your real name is.
Yeah,
but,
the Danny, baby.
So yeah, because it's Danny.
What?
It's Danny. I'm like, who's Danny? And it's like the super friendly text. Who's Danny? I'm like, oh, that's Baby Huey. So I put you in as Baby Huey. I got a lot of Dannys on my phone, but there's only one Baby Huey. Baby.
Thank you. Yeah,
Oh my God.
absolutely.
Interview over. We don't even need to have
Done.
to go any
Gauntlet
further.
thrown.
You just blew his head off. I assumed you changed your phone number because of Baby Huey. I figured that was the cause.
Well, so that's what happened. So, Chassie, you know the backstory. So, last Friday, we were over at Chase Center getting ready for Metallica's concert, and we were doing the whiskey tasting and all that stuff. And earlier in the day, the night before, I texted Jericho, and I was like, hey, you're in town next week. You want to do something? I didn't hear back all night, and I was like,
Devastation.
uh-oh.
Devastation.
And he's just avoiding me. I'm like, oh, crap. And then I sent a DM.
Ghosting.
I sent a DM.
No, I sent a DM to you.
Yeah,
just
so-
out of
That was the funny
coincidence.
part.
So I sent a DM on Twitter, and then later on the day, you sent me a
Right.
DM on Instagram.
Instagram, right.
And I was like, oh my God. And then we exchanged.
And that's the thing. I changed my number last year. It's like the first time I kind of purged everything for the last 20 years.
Really?
And I still have people like Phil Demmel. He lives here in San Francisco. He's like, dude, do you not like? He emails me. Don't you like me anymore? I've been texting you for like 3 months. I'm like, dude, let's change my number. Sorry, I forgot to tell you. If I text someone that was my friend for like 2 or 3 months, I would text a mutual friend and say, hey, did so-and-so change his number? But some people, there's probably some people out there that think I'm still mad at them because I haven't texted
I should have
back. So I
texted Dim
apologize.
and be like, hey.
Yeah,
exactly.
Now,
But we're all
Chris,
here. It worked out.
Are you aware that he calls you his celebrity bestie? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Okay, so I got to fill you in because there's actually you're getting in the ring with somebody you don't even know this yet. I've already planned this out.
Okay.
So yeah, it's on me. So he calls you his celebrity bestie. So my celebrity besties, I have two, are both stand-up comedians, Joe Coy and Kamal Bell from CNN. They have both agreed to do a celebrity bestie battle with you. Now, it's going to take two of them to go up against you, obviously. Maybe one on top of the other. I don't know. But are you in?
I love how people just say, we'll just have a wrestling match. I say, no, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. We'd be better off having a stand-up comedy off than a wrestling match.
I think you'd still win.
I get this all the time, and I specifically shy away from it. Anytime they ask me to do something on a TV show or whatever, it's like, just go in the ring with them and hit him with a chair. It'll be great. It's like, no, it's not great. It's never great. It always sucks because there's an art form to it. Be like, hey, go on stage and play guitar with Metallica. It'll be great. Just go do it. Do it. It's about the same. If you don't know how to play guitar, you're going to look like an idiot. And if you don't know what wrestling is, you look like an idiot. It's just like Dancing with the Stars. The thing about dancing is everybody, when they don't know how to do it, tries to be funny.
Yeah.
Same with wrestling. When you don't know how to do it, you go, I'm going to beat you. It just looks so stupid.
So awkward.
So I always just say, I remember one time they wanted us to do something with David Arquette on the George Lopez show. And David was a champion, WCW champion years ago. He's now back in wrestling. He's a great guy. He's just a lovely fella. And George was like, okay, our George's people, are you going to get in the ring? He goes, no, we're not. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a sing-off. And we sang Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Oh, my God.
I sang half. He sang half. We went back and forth. And it was great. It's fun stuff. That's what you want to do. So you tell Joe Coy and Hyper McGee or whatever his name, or Kamal, that we'll sit down and we'll come up with some kind of we'll do an improv sketch or something like that. It'll be much more fun.
I'm all over. I love that. That's
I would
my
love
style
that
right
too.
there. Yeah.
Dude, that would be awesome.
Okay, game on.
Chris, I mentioned in the intro, you're doing so many things. What motivates you to do all these things, to be a part of so many worlds, and how do you find that balance?
Well, the biggest one is I've told this before.
You're a Renaissance man.
Thank you. I always think Renaissance man like a guy with a flowing,
Yeah, like not a Renaissance fair. You're a Renaissance man.
Eating a big turkey leg. Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to be in a rock band and I wanted to be a wrestler. Since probably I was about, I'd say, 12 years old or maybe even a little bit younger. And just decided that's what I was going to do with the innocence of being a kid. And then as you get older, everyone has, opinions of, you'll never do that, or that's crazy, or you're stupid. And I just early on said, why do I care? Or why do you care what I want to do. I don't care what you want to do, just go do it. So I really got very motivated by that at a young age. And it's interesting because my kids are 16 and 13, and so they might know what they want to do. Or I knew what I wanted to do when I was like 12 years old. And it made it very easy for me to go through high school and get it through everything. It's like, I know this is what my final goal is. So once I made it in wrestling and then made it in music, now you become dangerous because your self-confidence, I'll try anything if I feel I can do it. Because why would I bet against myself at this point? That's where the podcasting came from, or writing books, or acting, or radio shows, or any of these other things that I do. It all stems from the fact of, it sounds like something cool, I'll just give it a try. And that's kind of where it all comes from.
Wow. So Chris, right now it's a really busy month for you, the month of September. You're touring with Fozzie around the country. Even few weeks ago, you had the show with Nickelback. How was that for you?
Great. I mean, it's so funny. We played with them the first night. I saw one of their set lists just happen to fall into the ground, and I walked by and looked at them like, wow, I forgot about that one, and I forgot about this one, and I forgot about that one. And there's a couple that I didn't know by title. But when I watched the gig, I'm like, oh, I know that one. They literally have 20 songs that you know. So yeah, it was great playing with them. It was a great mix, and it kind of teed us up for, we did Nickelback 2 weeks ago, and then we're doing Iron Maiden on Saturday. Like, that's a pretty good, diverse selection of headliners to go with.
AJ Kirsch is an unapologetic, huge Nickelback fan.
Oh, yes, he is.
I am too. I mean, I'll tell you what, like I said, it was great to see them, and if they asked us to play with them again, we'd do it in a second.
That's awesome. So I want to ask you about, just in terms, because you said last time you were in here with us talking about Fozzie and everything, you had a line, I believe was you guys were a 15-year overnight success.
Right.
And so just reflecting now on the past year or so of all the success that Fozzie has had, and really just exploding, just what has that been like, and just how gratifying was that for you guys?
I think it was really when Judas the song came out and became kind of the elusive hit single, that I think we're at 32 million views on YouTube or something like this. It puts things in a different world. And then Painless and Burn Me Out were both top 10s following that up. It just really took us to a different level. And people say, are you surprised? I'm not surprised, because I knew it was going to happen. It just was the right place at the right time for the right band with the right group of songs. So the best part of it was we were ready for it. When the record exploded, we had a great rock and roll band that was very tight, that had been playing for years. Like you said, a 15-year overnight sensation. So we were very prepared for all these successes and all these big opportunities, like, once again, playing with Nickelback, or the Iron Maiden Stadium, which is, I'll tell you the story in a bit. Like, to know that we're going to be doing a stadium with Iron Maiden, like, you can't be a band that doesn't have confidence. You can't, because you'll get eaten alive by the fans, by the production. But we know exactly what we're doing. So when we go on stage with a band like that, or Nickelback, we set up our stuff and take it off so fast. They're like, what happened? We have a crew that's completely knowledgeable, and they're like ninjas, and the band are like ninjas, and that comes from experience. We're not just a bunch of 22-year-old kids like, we got a hit song on the radio, let's go play some rock and roll and smash some TVs and throw some bubbly against the wall. Like, that doesn't get you very far. When you have Fozzie with some experienced vets who are now getting to this next level, and with Nowhere to Run, our new song that just came out, it's already a hit in 5 days. So that's from, I don't know what the old adage is, I'm not freaking Confucius, but success is luck plus preparation, or some BS like that.
Insert John Wooden quote. Yeah.
Man, what is the quote, Bimbo, Jimbo?
Was it success is when luck meets preparation, or something like
that? You're no Bimbo.
He pulled it out of his butt there. Good job.
So point being, when you have that experience and that respect, it's like touring with the guys from Steel Panther. They're great guys. With all the success they had, they're still very humble, because they know Steel Panther as a concept, as a project, was their last chance. They were Hollywood musicians for years, LA Sunset Strip guys. They just never made it. And their last ditch effort was like, let's just go have some fun. We'll never make it. Who cares? Suddenly they make it huge. They're very humble and respectful because of it, because they don't take it for granted. And we have the same attitude.
With Fozzie and all that success, and I mean, obviously in the wrestling world, you achieved this just otherworldly, second to none success. Now with Judas and everything like that, do you feel almost that you're on another level where you can take more risks sort of in your wrestling career? It's like, hey, I'm sort of feeling this creatively, and I'm just going to do it?
Well, I mean, I think something that, because I've been still doing some cool stuff in wrestling, I haven't been full-time in the business since 2010.
But you've been...
Yeah, I just pick and choose my spots.
Number one on the marquee.
But you pick the right spots. So then that's basically still what I'm doing, because Fozzie was the priority. I knew we could make it and get to the next step and continue to grow And I think the potential we have is still endless. I'd expect nothing less than arenas for us in the future, but you have to put the time in and you have to put the work into it. So wrestling, I've gotten to the certain level, but you still, if you want to stay on top, still have to put your focus in that as well. And that's why you see, like last year, I think I had 5 matches maybe. Mm-hmm. This year, now that AEW is about to start in October, I've had 2 matches this year. The most that I'll have at any given year is 15 or 20, whatever. It's not a lot, but it's still, if you're picking your spots, it's enough to still make a big difference as we still continue to build the Fozzie machine as well.
So let's just look at Fozzie right now. You just mentioned the new single, Nowhere to Run. Music video just came out. Can you just tell us a little bit where that video was shot? It was very cool with like all the TVs behind you.
We got kind of picked up by Sony last year.
Congrats on that.
Which, thank you. And like we've never had the major label machine behind us. We've very much do it yourself. And all the great labels we've been on in the past, we're very focused on doing it our way. Yeah. With Sony and then starting to work with the producer that we're working with, Johnny Andrews, kind of you give up a little bit of the control. And Sony said, we want a new song out in time for the tour, which we put together a whole tour around the Maiden show. Okay. Because you don't just do a fly date for an Iron Maiden stadium show, right? Yeah. You need to be, so we had a couple weeks beforehand, then a couple weeks afterwards to get back to Atlanta where we're based. And they said, we want a single out for the tour. And that's how they do it now. It's not so much worried about the album, like when's the album coming out? I don't know. We have no other songs done. They're being written, but Nowhere to Run, they wanted it. They put it out. They're going to put a push behind it. And, of course, they wanted to do a lyric video. And I said, lyric videos don't work. We got to do a video. So we came up with the concept Rich did of the TVs kind of flashing. And we wanted kind of just a live type of a thing. Because what do you do in a video nowadays that hasn't been done 1,000 times before? Yeah. And even with this, we're like, we got all these TVs. This is great. It's awesome. And some guys are like, yeah, that's Def Leppard, Armageddon. I'm like, what? Really? And we go watch it. And like, 30 years ago, they did kind of a primitive version of what we did. Yeah. But that's okay. I mean, it's the Judas video is based on a Guns N' Roses video, Garden of Eden. Mm-hmm. You just update it, and there's only 5 original ideas in music anyways. You just continue to make them better and kind of update them. So, we put the video out, and it came out less than a week. It's doing about 50,000 views a day, and all that stuff they take into account. How many streams have you had? How many views do you have of your video? All that matters when you're trying to get ads on rock radio, which are very hard to get, the elusive ads. So they look at all of these different aspects of what kind of streams and views you're getting, and that will influence them. So when your video is getting watched, it helps.
And the good news is there's no clowns in it.
I know, thank God, not this one. And I appreciate you for that. I really do. Yeah, I look at you as, you are just to every piece of your body, to the core of who you are. You're a performer. Yeah. And you have multiple different aspects of your career that have got to be really tough. Let's talk about the difference about performing in the wrestling world and then performing in the rock and roll world, being a front man versus what you do in the wrestling world. Do you approach them differently?
I think there's probably more similarities than differences because it's all based around connecting with the audience. Mm-hmm. If you can connect with an audience in front of a live crowd, you'll always have a fan base. Mm-hmm. Because if people are excited about what you do and are intrigued by what you do and maybe living vicariously by what you do, they'll follow you, whether that's music or wrestling or stand-up comedy or whether you're a stage actor or whatever it may be. So I think when I first started wrestling, I wanted to be the ultimate rock and roll front man in a wrestling ring because I didn't think they had that. Right. Like a David Lee Roth or Paul Stanley or Jagger or whatever, Bruce Dickinson. And then once we started Fozzie, I wanted to take the same elements that I was using for the Y2J character, which is basically kind of a party host and a rock star type guy. Mm-hmm. Take those elements that I stole from music, put into wrestling, and take them back into music again. So you approach them a little bit differently in that they're two different roles. Right. If I'm an actor, I'm playing Captain Jack Sparrow in one, and I'm playing, whatever the detective's name was in Murder on the Orient Express in the other one, Hercule Poirot or whatever the hell it was. There's two separate characters that you play, but elements are the same because wrestling and music, especially rock and roll, have very loyal and fanatical fans. Yeah. And it's a very high energy, intense form of entertainment. So you feed off that. A great gig to me and a great match to me is not, if you botched something or if you sang some wrong notes or if you had some technical difficulties. I don't care about that. What was the crowd doing at the end of the show? Did they enjoy the performance? Were they cheering at the end? Were they booing at the end in the right way if you're wrestling? if you get that sort of reaction, that's always the best matches and best shows for me.
That connection, I love that.
I want to keep it on the wrestling track here for a minute. You mentioned AEW and just sort of how many dates you expect to work with them. What has the experience been like so far? I mean, this is a new frontier even for you, Chris Jericho, who's done everything in the wrestling business. What has it been like for you so far founding?
I think that's probably one of the reasons why I wanted to do it, because it is uncharted territory. It's never been done before by any company. There's never been a company that started with so much pomp and circumstance at the highest level like we have. And I think a lot of that has to do with when the whole thing started, the concept started, and when I showed up there and kind of signed on the dotted line, it became legit. So it's pretty exciting. We don't know what's going to happen. I know what would happen if I went back to WWE. It'd be fun. It'd be great. Have some fun times. But WWE is WWE. It's never going to go away. AEW, if we do things right, could be lasting for years and years and years and be a legitimate alternative to the system of WWE, which is completely opposite to the attitude and ideas that we have.
It's super rad, and one thing I just have to follow up on is working in the NBA outside of the radio world, seeing wrestling ads on TNT in 2019 is super surreal, and sort of on that track. You were in WCW, maybe got to a certain level in WCW, thought you could get even higher, and now to be going back to TNT as the world champion. What is that? Is that sort of like I imagine sort of like Caesar coming down like that for like the promenade?
I don't notice a lot of that stuff. Like, people were pointing out to me that it was TNT, and I was like, yeah, that's cool, right on. It's like, well, you were there 20 years ago. And I'm like, really? I don't think I could have told you that Nitro was on TNT. It just kind of, I thought it was on TBS. But so people are like, is it like coming home? I'm like, well, no. Like, I've been working for Vince for 20 years, but it is, I mean, there's a lot of poetic justice there, I guess. Totally. Somebody pointed out that when WCW went down, the very first undisputed champion was me, and now that the competitor is rising on TNT where WCW ended, and now the champion is me, and it's like kind of a...
The symmetry is...
Yeah, I think somebody said, a friend of mine was like, pretty soon they're going to have to change the history of wrestling to cool stuff that Jericho did.
I'm sure you're okay with that.
Co-sign.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's great. Like, to have that sort of longevity and that sort of influence, it's very cool. And like I said, I'm not a full-time wrestler because I think body type wise and, just I think it's smart to do a handful of matches a year and pick your spots and do it the right way. But also too, I mean, you can't teach experience. So that's one thing that I have, that no matter what happens, I can take it and make it good. So that all adds up as well.
Well, so Chris, you just mentioned that, Jericho's got to do a lot of fun things. And you just mentioned, do you ever take a moment to just reflect on kind of your legacy as far as what you've been able to accomplish, and like how much does it mean to you right now in this moment in your life that with AEW and all the momentum it has right now, that at this point in your career, you could help get a new company over? Like, that must be so rewarding, the potential thought, like, if we can make this company last for years to come, like, as you said, you could just stay in WWE, do your thing there and be fine with it. But like a nice little, like, just, the nice, like, bow on things.
It was a cool kind of opportunity because to get a company rolling in wrestling, because you hear it all the time. I'm going to start a wrestling company. It's like, okay, sure, whatever. You need three things. You need money, which the Khan family has, and they also have Tony Khan's got such a passion for wrestling, which you can't replace. He understands the business, and most corporations don't. And if you don't understand wrestling, you're going to lose your money right away. Two, you have to have a great TV deal, which we got with TNT. Like, that's a great TV deal. It's a stronger network than USA Network is. Excuse me. And three, you have to have 6 to 8 legit main eventers that you can base your show around. And even better, if they're fresh that no one's ever seen, that adds to it as well. And you talk about a 15-year overnight success. That's what some of the guys in AEW, when you're talking about Omega and Young Bucks and Cody's been around, but not like now, Hangman and MJF. These are guys that no one's ever seen before that chose not to go to WWE. These are not cast-offs. It's like, oh, this is kind of a... Like, these guys said, no, we don't want to go to WWE. We want to continue to do things our way. We don't want to do it in that system. So I think it's going to surprise a lot of people when you go, oh my gosh, who are these guys? Like, they're great, and we've never heard of them. Or are they Japanese? No, they're from California and Winnipeg and New Jersey and, Atlanta. Like, what? Yeah. Why have they never been on WWE? Because they chose not to. And that's kind of, I think, the real secret as to why AEW has a chance to really go places.
God, Chris, I'm so impressed with your career. It just amazes me what you take on. Two-part question. Have you always been this confident? Like, were you like a 3-year-old that's like, yeah, I'm going to take on the world? Like, was that you?
No, but like I said, like I just really loved rock and roll and I loved wrestling and I thought that'd be really cool to do those. I didn't have any like analyzing parts of my brain to go, well, Chris, that's not very easy to do, especially like in 1990. Well, this was in the 80s when I wanted to do it, but 1990 when I started, like how do you become a wrestler? How do you put together a band? Like what do you do?
Right.
So I just had a confidence that like I really want to do this, and until I show myself that I can't, I'm going to continue it. Whether it's, okay, last month I worked 1 match. Mm-hmm. This month I have 2 matches. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
And last month I made $30. This month I made $60. Well, that's moving forward.
So you're just building little
I think
at a
so.
time.
And then, like I said, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. I don't think I'm arrogant, but I'm super confident, especially now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always was a showman too. Like even when I was a kid, I was doing my own radio shows, and when video cameras became a thing, we'd always make our own movies. And I was the star of the high school play, but I chose to be the bad guy. I thought it would be more fun.
Of course.
Oliver Twist was the play, and Bill Sykes was the bad guy.
That's funny.
So yeah, I guess I just realized early on that, like, I remember I went to journalism school because I had to kill some time before I was old enough to go to wrestling school. So I got a degree in journalism, and they used to send me out the local paper to like, okay, go do the water polo meet, and then there's a CFL fashion show, go cover that. And I realized, like, I don't want to be behind the scenes. I want to be in the fashion show.
You're meant to be, right? Yeah.
So that all kind of stemmed. Like, I have no other choice. I'm not going to be a banker. I'm not going to be working downtown, doing whatever. I have to perform, and if that means playing an acoustic guitar at a Starbucks for 50 cents, someone throws their change in there, well then I'll do that. So I think that's where it started from. I gave myself no backup plan.
Making me all teary-eyed.
You should be my life coach.
I know. Yes.
I need Jericho in my life.
I wrote a book. The last book I wrote.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of a self-help book called "No" is a 4-letter word, and I believe that no is like a curse word because people throw that word out, and it hurts people's feelings. No. Because it's a lot easier to say no than it is to say yes. Mm-hmm. And I think people accept that very easily, and I never accept no for an answer. And I'm not talking about no from you ask, a girl at the high school prom, she says no, and you stalk her. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about,
don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted.
I'm talking about just in life in general. There's always a way to get something done if you want to do it. There always is a way. The easy response is just say, oh, no, it's going to be too hard. Bullshit. Sorry, beep it. You have to look at ways why things can happen rather than look at the easy way why thing is not going to happen.
These are the things I'm trying to teach my son.
Yeah.
Right? When you're looking at your kid, and those are the things you want to instill in them.
Yeah, exactly.
I cannot stress enough to everyone out there watching this or listening to this that to read your book, No is a 4-letter word, because I couldn't put it down. I read it in a day, and it truly inspired me to make some changes in my own career and everything like that and just moving forward. And I love the chapter, sort of what you were alluding to, where I think you were talking to a friend about if you could make a show or not. And it's like BS. Like, if you want to do something, you'll find a way to get it done.
Yeah.
Like, everything else is just an excuse.
You going to the Fozzie show? I got to work the next day. And I don't know. It's like, well, no. I got to work the next day at 7. And who cares? When am I going to get the chance to see this band again, whether it's Fozzie or Trivium or Iron Maiden or whatever? And I have to take a bus. Well, then you go take a bus, and then you go to the show, and you go afterwards. You go, that was great. I'm really glad I went.
You always are glad you went, right?
Always find a way. If you want to do something, you make it happen.
I always say, choose the bigger life. Like, when you're asked a question, what makes the bigger life? Go to the show.
Yeah.
Take on the thing. Start the business, whatever it is.
Do stuff. Make things happen. Like, the concept of the book was based around principles that I had learned from family, famous people, fictional characters. And I mean, I think it starts off with the Mike Damone principle, which is the Fast Times at Ridgemont High, the ticket scalper. Is like, no matter where you are, that's the place to be.
Yeah.
Look at this. Isn't this great? If you walk through life going like, this is the best place in the world to be right here on Baby Huey's show, like, seriously, I don't want to be anywhere else. This is the place to be. And I think when he's looking, he's getting
you bought $50 worth of effing film. You don't even own a camera.
Come on, Matt. But all that stuff matters. Like, if you go through the day with a positive slant, it's just going to make everything better. Mm-hmm. And you're going to do it. Like, you got to take the garbage out. Well, I take the garbage out. Well, take the garbage out. Go enjoy the midnight air. Take your dog with you. Whatever. You got to take the freaking garbage out. So do it with a good attitude. and it'll make you feel better.
So good. I'm buying the book today. It's happening. Is it on Audible, by the way?
Yeah, it is. I actually read that one.
Oh,
I'll tell you what, man.
Because I love when authors read their own books.
The one before that, I got in a fight with the company that bought it. I was like, these guys are idiots. Like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And so they got some Shakespearean actor to do it.
No.
But he didn't know kind of the slangs and stuff. Like, what's Rey Mysterio's finishing move?
The 619.
Right.
Yeah.
He was calling it the 619.
Oh, jeez.
And Rey Mysterio went for the 619. So
my God.
all I'm getting are all these texts from people like, oh, he's mispronouncing the name and he's 619. I'm like, okay, I'm going to read the book. This was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Sitting there reading a freaking book. Do you know how long it takes to read a book?
8 hours? Yeah.
12 hours.
Yeah. Oh, that's brutal.
And you read it, like if you say like, and then he went to the, I'm sorry, I got to do it again. And then he went to the store, got to do it again. And then you start getting mad at yourself. And it's like, dude, that's hard. That was the hardest one. So you better buy it on Audible.
I'm doing it right now. Picking up my phone. I'm doing it right now.
No, I was just going to say, just to go off what Chris says, I do agree. Just like, Chassie, last Saturday I did that Metallica Fan Club party.
He was scared to death.
I was scared to death. I was by myself, 400 Metallica fans.
You hosted it?
I hosted a panel with some like legendary thrash guys from the scene.
Like who?
Craig Lucicero used to be in the band Forbidden Evil. Also, Will Carroll, the current drummer of Death Angel.
Nice.
And Harold O, who's taken all the legendary photos, Murder in the Front Row book. And the guy putting it on asked me to moderate this. And we were the second panel after the Cliff Burton panel.
Wow.
Ray Burton was there, Mike Borden from Faith No More. Like, all these heavy hitters are on before me, and all the Metallica fans from around the world in this small room are staring at him.
You do not want to make a mistake in that room.
I was sweating, and I was like, oh my God, these guys, again, if I say the wrong thing, they're going to eat me alive. I was tempted to come up with the excuse just to leave. But I stuck it out. I did it. I'm so happy I did it. And as you said, it's just those moments where it's like, I didn't want to regret it. That was the main thing.
If you didn't do it, you'd always feel bad. And the thing is, too, you're a fan. You're a legit fan. So you're not going to say anything that people are going to jump and kill you for.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's great about rock and roll, heavy metal specific. If you're a fan of a band, especially now, in the 80s, if you were a Metallica fan and you liked, Warrant, that's grounds for death.
Yeah.
Now it's like, if you're a metal fan, like, you're everybody's cool. Like there's not that delineage anymore of you're a poser, you're this or that. You're on the radio, you're a Metallica fan, it shows. I bet you probably did a great job.
I like to think so. We went like the guy had to wave me to like Indig. We had so much to talk about. So I'm just glad. And the guys were like, wow, you knew all that stuff? I'm like, yeah, I lived in the Bay Area my whole life, been a longtime fan. It just was coming to me.
Exactly.
So I was like, whew. I was like, I'm good. I survived.
Confidence comes in.
Congratulations.
We're going to let you get out of here, Chris. You've been super generous with your time, but we have to ask you about the AEW World Heavyweight Championship and the sort of the whodunit heard around the world with it being stolen. And you turned that into such an incredible positive that I was just like hats off. Like it was one of those things where it's like, was this planned? But I know it wasn't. But it was just you really turned it into a great positive. I'm not sure.
That's what I wanted. I mean, this is something I learned from Vince McMahon. Take a negative and turn it into a positive. And it's still one of the strangest stories. No one really knows. There's and this is no joke. There's literally FBI agents on this case. And the one thing that pissed me off was when people, Jericho lost the titles. If I just put it down like the absent-minded professor and like, I'll put my belt down over here and. Well, not even just walking down the street. I'm going to put on this garbage. Oh, look, there's a birdie. Oh, where did it go? It's a very strange story, and I couldn't even begin to tell it to you in 20 seconds because there's like 15 suspects. Not even kidding. Bottom line was, when it happened, it was a potentially kind of an embarrassing situation. So take the negative, turn it into a positive, make a storyline out of it. And the worst part of it all was we had so much great stuff going on when the stupid cops found it, or not even, sorry, rephrase that. When somebody turned it in, who found it on the side of the road, on a road, by the way, that was nowhere near the road that we drove down. Interesting. And happened to turn it at the same time when the owner of the limo company was in the station. I've got it all in film. Interesting. Anyways, I don't want to get into too much, but then the cops posted a picture of them with the title and ruined the whole thing. We could have worked it for, you know what, whatever.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It is what it is. And then that led right into the little bit of the bubbly thing, which is just the dumbest thing ever.
But it's crazy
there's
over.
literally over 100 memes, videos, GIFs about a little bit of the bubbly. Like the best one was I just saw the other day have you seen the Silence of the Lambs one?
Yes. Yes.
A census taker tried to test me once, Clarice. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a fine little bit of the bubbly.
Do you have a favorite one? Like
that one was up there.
Okay.
The Jackson 5 one, blame it on the bubbly.
Biscuit. I mean,
the Limp Bizkit was great. I mean, the
it's like a Def Leppard one as well, right?
There's everyone. There's a Queen one. I want it all. I want it now. I want it all. And I want a little bit of the bubbly. It's so stupid. Like what I loved about it the most, though, and I talked about it on Talk is Jericho this week, is it made people get creative and get off of their phones, just staring into the abyss and getting onto their editing programs. I don't know how they did. I don't have an editing program like that, and just using their creativity to put all of these really cool things together. And there was just one after another. Another great was just the Gigolo. Bubbly. Like it made people get creative, and I liked that. So and people are still sending them. At the peak, I was probably getting 30 or 40 an hour.
Jeez.
Now you get 2 or 3, but people are still doing it, and you got to take advantage of that when it's hot. So
Hell yeah.
we made a T-shirt and sold a bunch of units, and there you go.
I can think of no better place to end this interview than with a little bit of the bubbly.